In a surprise move, the Vishwa Hindu Parishad has said that it would call off its agitation demanding the Ram temple at the disputed site in Ayodhya. Well, why has this come as so much of a surprise, and what does this really signal is what we are trying to decode today, is the question we are trying to answer. And in fact, please do send in your questions, comments, observations in the course of this discussion, and I'd be very happy to take them up. The VHP yesterday, as I mentioned, said that it would suspend its agitation, its movement to demand a Ram temple in Ayodhya. This is after really months of the VHP, the RSS putting pressure on the Narendra Modi government, saying bring in an ordinance to make the Ram temple in Ayodhya. This is after they've held many programs, meetings across the country, and this is when last week in the Kumbh Mela, group of Sikhs, a group of sadhus met to talk about it and demand an ordinance. Well, what is the VHP saying? The VHP is saying that we don't want this to become a petty electoral issue. We don't want it to seem like petty politics, and hence we are going to call this off till the Lok Sabha election. So essentially they have clearly given support to the BJP on this front, and they've given a clean chit to the BJP saying that till the elections are over, we are not going to put pressure on you. This is coincidentally just a week, or not so coincidentally rather, a week after the BJP government filed a petition in the Supreme Court asking to be allowed to return the adjacent land, which it calls a surplus land, 67 acre land, which is next to the disputed site, back to the original landholders, which includes the Ram Janmabhoomi Nyas. Now, what does that mean? That means that since the matter is in court and the government is well aware, which is something that PM Modi has also very categorically stated, that it is a matter that will be sorted by the judiciary, and there is nothing much that the government can do at this point. The government has been unwilling to give in to the pressures and demands of an ordinance by its affiliates like the RSS and VHP, and hence what the government did last week was to go and petition for the surplus land, in a way saying that look, we are trying to do whatever is within our reach, we are trying to do whatever is within our powers, and it is the court now which has to decide. The matter is entirely with the court. Why has the VHP decided this now, after months of agitating, after holding this big rally, in fact, in Ramlila Maidan in Delhi just a couple of months back, demanding an ordinance to this effect? Well, obviously, the fact that the Lok Sabha elections are barely months away, in fact, could be announced very soon, that's something that is weighing on the mind of the right wing, of the political right wing, as well as their affiliates like the RSS and VHP, and they know that at this point they have to fight together, and by putting pressure on the government and making it seem like the Modi government is not doing enough, it's not something that the party can afford at this point. It cannot afford to have its cadre or its vote bank or its voters feel that the Modi government is not doing enough. So really it is in support of the Modi government. Does it mean that the VHP is not going to demand the Ram temple anymore? Of course not. That's something that they have also clarified very categorically, in no uncertain terms. They have said that this is only till the Lok Sabha election, so essentially easing the pressure of the Narendra Modi government to be seen as doing something. Also, as I mentioned, the fact that it's happened a week after the government filed a petition in the court asking for the surplus land, that seems like it was some kind of an agreement was reached between the government and the VHP and RSS, where the government said that we are going to do this much, so that it doesn't seem like we are not being in power and we are not doing anything for the Hindus and for a Hindu vote bank. And on the other hand, the VHP agreed to suspend the kind of pressure it was putting on the government. Now, what does the Ram temple issue come to become? We know it is something which is very crucial to the BJP. It's been crucial to the BJP's rise in national politics from the early 1990s onward. And before every election, even if it's a state election, particularly say a state election like Uttar Pradesh or the Lok Sabha election, this is something that comes up. This is something that is always brought up because the BJP feels it helps it rally its core vote bank around it, and it helps it charge its cadre and workers. Politically, this issue has now become a bit of a difficult position, has put the opposition, including the Congress, in a bit of a difficult position, because the BJP, the RSS and the VHP are constantly putting pressure on the Congress to say whether or not it wants the temple there. Now the Congress, it's a bit of a catch-22 situation, definitely can't agitate for the temple on its own, but it cannot speak against it as well because it's afraid of completely losing the Hindu vote and sending it entirely the BJP way. So it's afraid of that counter consolidation of the Hindu vote against it, and which is what the Congress is trying to avoid. In fact, we just saw recently Rahul Gandhi's interview, Congress President Rahul Gandhi's interview, where he was asked this question and he said the matter rests with the judiciary. So really the Congress taking it in a very cautious way. This issue, as I said, has very many political undertones, but it also has extremely delicate social undertones given the kind of background it has had. There's another question which says, is this election propaganda? Well, clearly it is. It's always been an election issue, and we saw the heat on this issue rise as we started moving towards the Lok Sabha election. The closer we got to the Lok Sabha election, the more noise we heard on this front. This matter, the court will hear it, the court will decide on what happens with the disputed land, whether it goes three ways like the Allahabad High Court had said, or how the court wants to decide. But there is obviously a lot of pressure that was being put very overtly and very vocally on the Narendra Modi government ahead of the elections. Now, calling this pressure off, calling off the agitation on the VHP's part is also an electoral issue. As I pointed out, it's very clear that they don't want the Modi government they don't want to embarrass the Modi government really in front of the core Hindu voter or in front of its cadre, and they don't want it to make they don't want to make it seem, or they don't want to highlight that the Modi government has not been able to do anything on this front. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as I said, made it very clear the matter rests with court, and it's only after the court takes a decision that the government will do whatever it can and whatever is possible to that extent. Well, really clearly this is some kind of a truce that has been agreed upon between the BJP, between the VHP and RSS. As I said, last week's development is no coincidence. Just a week after that, to say that this sounds electorally petty, this sounds like, it's petty politics. Clearly the VHP is allowing the BJP a little bit of breathing space. There's a question from Abhijit Singh Deora. How does the BJP gain by this? Abhijit, well, as I said, it eases the pressure of the Narendra Modi government. Look, even though the Prime Minister made it clear that the court will do it, and then, they will do whatever they can. In fact, Party President Amit Shah had also said that if the court decides to sit on it every day, it can be sorted in 10 minutes. So they had put the entire onus on court. But constantly to have its own affiliates like the VHP, like the RSS, like the Bajrang Dal, talk about it and demand an ordinance and say that, look, you need to do something, you've not done enough despite being in power for 5 years now, is putting pressure on the Modi government. They do have to be answerable to their affiliates. They also have to be answerable to their core voter and to their cadre and workers who've been waiting, as it were, for the Ram temple. Now with the VHP easing this pressure, saying that we're going to put this issue on the back burner till the Lok Sabha election, it gives them breathing space. In fact, what it does is it allows the BJP to talk about the Ram Mandir and to talk about its desire to see the Ram Mandir without having the pressure of its own affiliates about asking for an ordinance or asking for some kind of drastic measures on that front. There's a question which says, will negotiations between VHP, BJP and RSS for seat nomination reduce the power of Modi Shah? Well, really, not really at this point. As I have repeatedly maintained, Prime Minister Narendra Modi remains the most popular leader the BJP has, on whose name the BJP will unapologetically fight the forthcoming election. He will be the trump card, and Amit Shah, who's the party president, remains a chief strategist. So it isn't as if their power is going to go down at all. But of course, they do have to give in to their affiliates, to their friends, as it were, where it comes to seat sharing. In fact, it's not just RSS and VHP who the BJP will have to listen to. It's also its allies. We saw that happening in Bihar, where it ceded more seats to the JDU and LJP than was expected, because it cannot afford to at this point lose any friends as the Lok Sabha elections draw closer, and hence clearly that is something that the Modi government is going to do. It's going to stop playing Big Brother to that extent, and it will have to listen to a lot of demands that are going to come in. But it's not really going to reduce, as you've asked me, the power equation of Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. There's a question which says, what do you think about the communal riots before election to win elections for BJP and RSS? Well, if you're asking me if they're going to engineer any communal riots, I think that's dangerous territory. I wouldn't quite want to go there, but there is no real evidence to say that's going to happen, and I think let's just hope that the elections go off peacefully. So I'm not sure that is something we would expect. But yes, we can expect a reasonable degree of polarization that's going to take place. So there are many issues on which the BJP will try to polarize, will try to consolidate Hindu votes. One is, of course, the Ram Temple issue, which we've spoken at about length right now. The other is the Citizenship Amendment Bill. We've seen the BJP's very high decibel campaign on that front, where it is constantly talked about giving citizenship to non-Muslim refugees from 3 countries, which is Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh. And that is something the BJP sees as its golden ticket to getting the Hindu vote ahead of the election, considering that it can't do much on the Ram Temple issue. The bill has been passed by the Lok Sabha. It remains pending in Rajya Sabha, where the government doesn't have majority. So really, these are issues that the BJP is going to use extensively ahead of the election to polarize, particularly to some extent, particularly in certain states which are more communally sensitive, or where the vote really matters. For instance, Uttar Pradesh, which has always seen a degree of polarization before elections. Riots, of course, as I said, is dangerous territory. I don't think we really should get into speculation because it's way too speculative. Also, I would like to point out that even as the BJP polarizes elections through issues, it's also going to polarize the elections through the statements that a lot of its leaders make. Look, we saw in the run-up to the recent assembly elections in December that leaders were talking about, like for instance, Yogi Adityanath was talking about Bajrang Bali versus Ali, or there were many such provocative statements that were made. So issues, statements that are made would be used by the party to polarize. Well, I'll take one last question, which is from Lalit Kumar. When all these political parties work and ask for votes on development and not on religion. You mean to say, when will they do that? Like the Aam Aadmi Party, why does the BJP always polarize everything? Well, you know, BJP, as I said, it has its roots, its growth in politics on the issue of religion. That is what has happened in the 1990s. That is at the core of the BJP's not just rise in politics, but its very existence in Indian politics. However, what the BJP has tried to do, whether it's under Atal Bihari Vajpayee or Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is to try and bring in some semblance of a balance by talking about development, talking about Vikas. PM Modi is increasingly talking about reforms, is increasingly talking about Jan Kalyan, welfare, benefit to farmers, poor, middle class, as we saw in the budget as well. So while religion remains an integral part of the BJP's politics, not just electoral politics, but also political discourse, also important to the BJP now is to talk about issues like Vikas, to talk about welfare, and to talk about issues that concern people. No political party today can afford to completely ignore these issues, rest assured. So there is no way the BJP can afford to skirt them entirely, which we've seen it doesn't do. But yes, it garnishes its elections with a hefty dose of religion and polarization, as we all know. Well, thank you so much for watching and for sending in your questions.